Hello everyone, welcome to episode 3 part 2. In this video we'll be talking about how the one size fits all education doesn't work. Now, not every child, can understand a concept as easily as another person. Not every child has the ability to memorize one concept as opposed to another person. The challenge is in finding out what are the different brain functions, right, that are available to a human being, for an average human being at birth, and to offer a solution that encompasses all of these brain functions, whether that's memory, linguistics, function of taste, smell, complex emotions, understanding complex problems, giving complex solutions, being able to build something. So a lot of people, they are able to focus on something and build it into a tangible form. There are some people that have the ability to think in abstracts. Right? So these are all not functions of memory. These are all functions of the human brain. There are functions of things like of critical thinking, analytical thinking, expansive thinking, like taking a topic and just expanding on it. A lot of people have that ability. But how do you hone these different skills? Right? You have to take some of the average brain functions that is at least done at an intellectual level, not at a physical or materialistic level, but at least at an intellectual level, and apply that to the syllabus. So one of the strides that many of the education systems in our country try to take is they try to include analytical thinking and critical reasoning and all of that. And you see this with the entrance exams, like IIT JEE, entrance exams in MBA courses, and some other things like that. What you see is a focus on critical reasoning, analytical thinking, data interpretation, meaning taking large amounts of data and forming strong, conclusive ideas and opinions on it, correct opinions on it. And these are all extremely valuable concepts. What happens in our country is that we've got a huge number of talented people, right? But they're not honed in these skills specifically, or even if not specifically, deliberately. I think that's very important, to deliberately train these skills. That people tend to come out and have no real understanding of how the real world works. The real world is much more complicated. The real world is not as time consuming as education, but it's much more complicated to navigate. It's much more challenging and hard, and it seems like, it's vast and never ending. But some of these tools can be help people that come through the education system to live a better life. And that's the ultimate goal of it, right? When a person comes out of an education system, they should be able to live a better life. So what do we mean by better life? A better life means this person who has been living under a roof on another person's money can come out of the education system. They can build their own roof. They can create their own opportunities at eating food and buying clothes. We must be able to empower our people to do that. Now, to empower your people to do that, what you do is you give them tools. You give them tools in order to develop their intellectual abilities, their physical abilities, their emotional abilities, so that they can become stronger individuals when you grow up. We don't seem to do any of that. And I think one of the reasons why I'm pointing this out is because, not to castigate anybody, but I do feel that if the syllabus does the absolute minimum of providing the option of including all of these features in the pattern, the next step would be to replicate this syllabus that you've created into the question paper patterns. And then the student will be forced to think of these things, even if he does not concentrate on them, or even if he doesn't develop each skill to a large extent, he is aware of these things and he's able to pursue them at a later point in life if needed. But the problem is we never give our students the opportunity to do this, right? It is one of the reasons why people that do math well in school, especially in India, generally go out and do better in all the other aspects of life. It's because our focus on memory means that the only other aspect that deviates from pure memory is maths, and the people that do well in it usually tend to do better in life. Now, that's not always the case. There are exceptions to the rule where even people that are poor at maths have done great in life. And by great, I mean they're able to build a good life for themselves. They've lived comfortably all their life. They've got good savings. They've got a level head, zero debt. They're able to, empower, inspire others, meaning they're able to raise children that are also emotionally strong and very, very level-headed, very disciplined. They themselves are disciplined. And you see those exceptions, people who don't know math, who don't like math, but are still like this. But then you mostly see people with a math background who usually do well. And I think this is an indication of what is wrong. Right? The idea of looking at math as the only venue of critical reasoning and critical understanding, of analytical thinking, of data interpretation, is a very, very, very difficult thing for me to accept, because that limits the scope of these different brain functions that I'm talking about. Because the idea of expanding the brain function through education, I think, is the fundamental aim of the education system, right? The reason I say that we need to expand on these ideas is because there are several skills that you use in order to acquire these kind of tools. These skills, when put to the practice, these students are able to grasp them. They can use it for life. I do feel there are so many unused skills among us humans because we are not aware of it or whatever, that we don't use. And industries or jobs or business sectors could be created of just these simple little skills. And yet, because we have not focused on this, or we have not diversified our education to include these things, we have created a society that's very narrow-minded. The basic idea, you might all know, is, a student that comes out of India either wants to do engineering or MBBS. And, that's basically the whole point, right? We have created a very narrow way of thinking for our children, that the aims and focus of this require maths, physics, chemistry. Maths, physics, chemistry is just memory, repetition, very little critical reasoning and critical understanding going in. Now, of course, people that study for JEE are very different. They acquire skills in those trainings that are incredibly useful in solving very complex problems, whether they are mathematical or not mathematical. And that level of analytical thinking really does change or wires your brain in a different way. And that's exactly what I am looking for in our normal common state syllabus education, except I don't want it like JEE, in the sense that JEE focuses very specifically on maths, very specifically on physics, very specifically on chemistry. I would like those concepts to be used universally. Things like spatial understanding, critical reasoning, analytical reasoning, data interpretation to be used more universally rather than just in math. And I honestly think it can be done. Like I said, the resource available to this is so ubiquitous. It's very difficult to give an argument against not doing it. And to have, basically, the dream would be to have hyper-intellectuals coming out of schools, hyper-intellectuals, not just because they're able to solve complex problems, but they're also able to look at life and say, okay, if I have a job, I got some money. If I do business, I got some money. Now, if I use the skills that I've learned in school and I do a business, I make some money. That's great, isn't it? So we should be taking steps to make sure that happens. Today, somebody that finishes 10th or 12th standard really doesn't have any skills, and they usually don't have the ability to start a business. They don't even know how to start a business. They don't know what it entails.
This is exactly what we should be looking at when we are trying to solve the issues in the education and the single-minded focus on memory.
Thank you for listening. Consider liking the video and comment if you have an opinion. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos of this kind. Thank you.